Hi, and welcome to Fantastic Living. I'm your host, Thuy Phan. Today I'm going to show you how to make a old classic that I have grown up loving, and it is a pickled mango, and it's very salty, sweet, and just crispy. So it's a great way to use up really young and unripe mangoes, which we have a lot of because my parents grow lots of mango trees, and before they actually ripen, there's so many that fall on the ground and you don't know what to do with it. So pickling them is a great way to do it. So while I have them all crispy and young and green, we're going to do that so that we don't waste any of it. So I'll show you how to do it. It's really easy. The worst part of it is just actually peeling them because they're so little, but you can do it while you're watching TV or something mindlessly while you're talking on the phone or something, and it'll go by in no time. So what you need is about 3 pounds of green mangoes and then some chilies if you like a little spice to it. You also need a little bit of sugar, fish sauce, and then also vinegar and water. And you just make the pickling juice for it and let it cool down, and then you put it all together and wait 1 or 2 days, and then it's ready to eat for you all summer. So let's get started on that. I have a pretty sharp knife here. This looks like a really scary weapon, but it's a Vietnamese style peeler that is really sharp. So since this is kind of a Vietnamese dish, I might as well go really ethnic and go really traditional. So basically the way you want to do it first is cut off this end of it so that it gives you a base so that you can peel it from. Okay, so to peel this, it's just, and obviously you can use any type of peeler. These mangoes, the type of mangoes that it is so tart and bitter if it's still unripe. So I know a lot of people like to eat it while it's kind of sour and dip it with salt and peppers and different types of dipping sauces. But this type of mango is particularly bitter, and jack is the word. So by pickling it, you kind of take away that bitterness and that tartness. So it's a great way to use up mangoes, because before my parents were just throwing it all away, and just kind of broke my heart. I was like, oh man, all those little baby mangoes, they just didn't have anywhere to go, and now they have a second life to be pickled mangoes. So, and if you ever go to the Asian areas of Little Saigon, you know that they'll sell these in the stores, and it's not that cheap actually. It's rather expensive because pickled mangoes, because of the unripe style mangoes, are usually pretty expensive. So if you can do this at home, they'll be a lot cheaper for you, and it's a great way to use it up. For me, it's almost like an Easter egg hunt because every day there's mangoes falling down. So you just go into, you just bring a little basket and just pick up these mangoes and decide which ones are big enough to save and which ones you should just let go. But for the most part, it's kind of a fun way to use up these cuties. So actually from here, what we want to do is just slice them in half. These are small enough that you can just do by half. If your mangoes are bigger, you do quarters. And you want to take out the seed because the seed is super bitter. I know sometimes when you're looking at things that you know are kind of sour, your mouth starts to water. And whenever I see these mangoes, my mouth starts to get all tingly because I'm like, I know they're really sour, and I'll give you that feeling. And I think this actually makes a really great gift too, because you can pickle them and put them in mason jars. And every family gets a little mason jar as a little gift, and it's kind of a nice way to show that you care. Or if you're just sick of the mangoes, you can give them away and everybody gets a little bit. Quite a few, and I'll show you what the next step is. As you can see, there's more here, but this is all you really need to get one batch started. So what you do next is you'll salt it and let it sit and soak in like a saltwater brine for about 30 minutes so that it can get really crispy when you rinse it out. That's a step that's really important here. So you can just eyeball it and just salt it. Add water and let it rest. And then we'll make the brine and then we'll put it all together. So now I have brined this batch for a little over 30 minutes, and you can see it's a little bit different in color and it's a little bit more elastic now after you've done that. So that'll give it a nice crispy and kind of elastic texture when you bite into it. It's really satisfying. So now I'm going to rinse this and then drain it, and then I will stuff them into the mason jars, and then we'll make our brine, let it cool down and put it together. So. Now, if you're not planning to gift them individually, you can just get one really big container so that you don't have to individually do this, but I like to section it out so that we can gift it if we want. Oops. Actually, I'm going to cut some chili peppers and stuff them in there too. Like I said, the worst part is actually just doing the peeling. After that, it's pretty simple. So now with the chilies, I'm going to put on one glove, so that the one that's handling the chili, so you don't accidentally put it in your eye and get teary. So basically, I cut off the end and then I'll split it just so that you release the spiciness, so it looks like this. And then I'll do a few where I slice it up too, to make sure that I really get that spice in there. And depending on how spicy you like it, obviously this is optional and modifiable to your taste. But I actually really like the chili. It just gives it that extra kick. And so it's a really satisfying bite. And then you can keep going for more, and then before you know it, the whole jar is gone. So now I would just split up the chilies. So now we are just ready to make our pickling juice or brine, and then we'll let it cool down and put it together, and then that's it. And then we'll be ready to go. Now we're ready to make our brining solution, and basically all it is some sugar, water, fish sauce, and vinegar. So those are the components to make it, and you're going to just boil it down so that the sugar dissipates and then it all melts together. So we'll turn on our pot, maybe to medium heat, and you need 600 milliliters of water. And I'm doing milliliters just because it's a little bit easier to read on here, but it's about 2.5 cups, a little bit more than that. And then you also need 50 milliliters of vinegar. Comes out to a little bit less than 1/4 cup. And then also fish sauce. Now if you wanted to make this vegetarian, you can use salt instead of fish sauce, but I do like the fish sauce a little bit too much. And this is 30 milliliters. If you want yours to be a little bit saltier, you can add a little bit more. But it just gives it a little bit more of a umami flavor. And then sugar. We're adding about 300 grams of sugar, and that equates to about 1.5 cups. And we'll just add that in there. And that's all there is to it. We can just mix it up a little bit and just let it do its thing. And then we'll let it cool down, and then we'll pour it over our mango mixture, and then it's gonna be ready. Okay. And it takes no time at all for this. So after about 3 to 5 minutes, when it's all dissolved, we will just take it off the heat and just let it cool down. So now our brining solution has cooled down, and I put it into a pitcher so it's a little bit easier for us to pour. And this is what we're gonna do, is pour. So it's gonna be the last step to it, and then it'll be ready for consumption in just 1 or 2 days. So all you're gonna do is fill it. Perfect. Okay. Chop them. Okay. So if it ends up that you do not have enough brine, or your mangoes just don't fit exactly into 3 or whatever the vessels are, you have a couple options. You can smush more mangoes so that you can condense it. I've done that before and it works. Or it's okay for it to not be completely submerged, and then you, throughout the process, just kind of use chopsticks and move them around. The mangoes will end up floating to the top anyway, so they'll all be able to get that flavor. So don't freak out too much. But if it does freak you out, what you could do is just add a little bit more water or vinegar or fish sauce and mix those 3 together, and just add in a little bit so that it tops it off a bit. But you're going to be fine if it doesn't fill it all the way to the top. So I've also seen some people put banana leaves on top to cover it up, so that it creates a layer. You don't have to do that, but if you want to, it just adds a little bit of extra specialness to it. But this is going to be fine for us. And after you've poured in the brine, we're just going to cover it up. And then we'll just forget about it till the next day or 2 days later. And then you can start eating them. But after a couple days, I like to put them in the fridge so that they are not only crispy, but they're also cold. So it's an extra snap. So I have one that's already done. So these 3 are the ones that are on deck. And this one is the one that's already done. So try this. I'll try this guy. And normally, if you were just to eat this type of mango, this raw, or not raw, but without being brined, it's just really hard to eat because it's too bitter and too green. But it's just perfect because it's a little sweet, a little sour, a little spicy, and also a little bit salty too. So it's a great snack, and I've been known to just keep munching, and it has a nice little kick to it from the chili. So I think this is such a great way to use up these mangoes, and it's just so refreshing, even because it's cold and crispy. And did you hear the way that it crisped and crunched my mouth up? That's good stuff. So now, not only did you save these mangoes from just ending up in the trash because they're so little and unable to eat raw, you're able to make yourself a nice little snack and a gift also if you want to give it away to friends and family. This is just a great way to use up those green mangoes that end up falling on the ground before they're ripe and ready. And I think it's so delicious. It's crunchy, it's sweet, makes a great snack and a gift too if you're gonna make it for family and friends.